Okay, next up, test tubes. These are test tubes. They're all different sizes, usually made of glass. Sometimes you might come across a plastic one. We'll warn you if you're using plastic so you don't heat them. This is a test tube clamp or test tube holder. We're going to, this is a test tube rack, by the way. We are going to heat a lot of things in test tubes. So what you'll do is you'll put your liquid in the test tube, then you put the test tube clamp around it up here. And then, if you notice the Bunsen burners here, it's not on yet. I'll turn it on in a minute. But when you do heat your liquid, you're going to point it, tilt it or angle it, and you're going to point it towards the back wall. You do not want to be heating it, pointing it towards yourself or somebody else. Sometimes the liquids in there will jump a little bit as they get hot, and they'll pop. The stuff will pop out. Obviously, you don't want that to happen. Also, the test tube clamps will start to get hot. Do not hold them up here and wonder why your hand is getting hotter and hotter. Hold them back down here, so obviously you don't feel the heat as much. Also, usually we don't hold things directly in the flame the entire time. You might want to put it in the flame, take it out a little bit. As you can see it starting to get warmer and warmer. When you're done heating things, they're obviously going to be hot. Put them in the test tube rack, let them cool. When you're all done, your teacher will tell you how to dispose of the contents of the test tube, and then it's your responsibility to clean them. So take them over to the sink, run water in it, use a test tube brush, clean everything out, rinse it out, drain it, and then put it in the drying rack. So it's your responsibility to get the test tubes back to this condition when you're done. So there's test tubes, the test tube brush, test tube clamp, and the test tube rack. So I'll put those over here for now. Okay, next up is the Bunsen burner itself. We're going to use two different methods of heating things this year, the Bunsen burner and the hot plate. First thing you have to do with the Bunsen burner is wait for the teacher to put the gas on. Before he or she does that, he'll ask you guys to make sure that all of the gas jets are in the off position. This is a gas jet. They're pretty much, they take this format in all classes. When they are perpendicular to the actual jet, when the handles are perpendicular, it means that the gas is off. The gas is not flowing through. There's pipes underneath the counters and stuff. The gas is not flowing up through the pipe and then out through the jet into the classroom. That's a bad thing. We don't want that to happen. Obviously, it's flammable. So we turn it so it's perpendicular and it blocks the gas. If we turn it into this position, now the gas is running through. Probably can't hear it, but the gas is coming out and you hear a little whooshing sound. So when the teacher's ready to turn on the gas, he or she will ask you guys to just be quiet and listen. If you hear that little whoosh sound near any of these jets, it means one of these gas jets is on, and you need to quickly go turn that off so the classroom's not filling up with gas. That's flammable. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to connect the tube. Make sure it's on nice and tight. You don't want any gas leaking out. Then you're going to light your match. Now we have a little beaker here of water, so after you light the match and light the Bunsen burner, you're going to put your hot match in the water. You're not going to drop it onto your papers or something. So we're going to light the match, then turn on the gas. You can usually hear it whooshing around here. Bring the match to it, blow out your match, and put it in there. Now down here is a little, I guess, collar that you can adjust, and it lets a certain amount of oxygen in. If you have too much oxygen, you'll end up with a red flame. That's, when you heat things, it'll end up causing them to become dirty because there'll be a lot of soot on it because of incomplete combustion. So what we're going to do is adjust this so you have a nice blue cone. You really don't want any yellow or orange. You want it to be nice and blue. That's the hottest flame that you're going to get using these Bunsen burners. Okay, so let's turn that off, and I'll show you how to set up things so you can heat different substances. This is what we call a ring, and this is a ring stand. So we're going to be using these things obviously together. So take your ring, drop it onto here, they fit together. There's a little screw over here and an opening for the post. So you're going to tighten that up, make sure it's nice and sturdy. There's your ring. Now obviously if you try to heat your liquid on top of the ring, it doesn't fit, so we're going to solve that problem by putting what we call wire gauze. The wire gauze sits on top of the ring like that. Its job is to disperse the heat evenly and obviously support the beaker, so then we'll put our beaker on top. Make sure you're very careful around these setups. It's not super stable. Any kind of horseplay, you could just inadvertently turn around and knock this over and cause a big disaster. So please be careful around these setups. So this is one way of heating up a liquid. Obviously we're going to use hot plates also, but it goes the ring stand, put the ring, and then the wire gauze. And again, the wire gauze is to heat up or disperse the heat evenly. Now that's going to be very hot when you want to get it off the flame, so you're going to use what we call beaker tongs. Now these are beaker tongs. These are what we call crucible tongs. Notice the difference. These don't fit very well around a beaker, so we're not going to use these for beakers. These are beaker tongs. They're made to fit right around it, and you're going to take it off and put it down onto your surface and then wait for it to cool before anybody touches it. Also make sure your lab partners know that that's hot, so nobody is coming by grabbing it and doing something with it and burning themselves. So this is one setup. Let's look at another option. Keep the ring on the ring stand, but now we're going to add what we call a clay triangle. This is made out of clay. It can withstand the high temperatures, and it obviously looks like a triangle. So we're going to take this, and we're going to put it right in there. And that's going to provide support for what we call a crucible. This is a little crucible. These, unless you get them straight from the supply store, are never going to look clean. They always end up with some sort of residue. Usually the lab that we use these for is heating up magnesium, and it leaves kind of a white, grayish magnesium oxide color. But as long as they're dry, you can put stuff in it. You wipe them out with a paper towel, and you put stuff in it, and then you put it gently in that little clay triangle, and that'll support that. And then you put the lid on top, and then you turn up the heat, and the heat will, or the flame should go up and even around the sides of the clay or the crucible. It should get super, super hot and ignite whatever's in there and cause a chemical reaction to happen. So this is a crucible, very, very breakable. This is a clay triangle. They go together, and then it goes on top of the ring on the ring stand, and again directly over the flame. Now, these, I mentioned before, are not these. These are beaker tongs. These are crucible tongs. These guys you're going to use, and you can grab, there's a little tiny paper clip on here. I'm coming in from the wrong angle here. But you can grab that, take off the lid. You can grab the crucible itself. These don't work very well. These are tight. Grab the crucible and you can put it down and so forth. Okay, that is going to be extremely, extremely hot, so you want to use these crucible tongs. Okay. Last thing, let's say you need to heat your test tube for an extended period of time, or maybe you want to put your test tube into a hot water bath. This is called a test tube clamp. So you're going to take this, same idea here. You're going to put it on top. You're going to screw that down. Then you're going to take your test tube, slide it in here. There's also a little tiny screw back here. And you can either heat this directly in the flame. Again, it's angled away. Or you could also, well, I don't have to show it to you, but you get the idea. You could put the ring under here. You could put the beaker on top of the wire gauze, and then you could heat it in a hot water bath for a while. So you can use lots of different clamps and stuff on the ring stand. So that's all of our equipment. Anything you use, you're going to clean. So any of the beakers that you'd use, the crucibles, the test tubes, anything you use, you clean up. Don't leave matches around. Make sure they get dumped afterwards. And then you're going to put all your equipment back.